We have a pitcher injury carousel, or what some people, one guy is calling a pandemic. And we're going to get into it. But first, let's go down the list before Brad gets into. He's got some stuff to say, and so do I.
Yep.
So let's go down the list of injured pitchers that we find notable, and I'm sure you do too, because it seems like it is affecting everybody. And we'll get into that. So we've got Framber Valdez, Spencer Strider, Shane Bieber, Garrett Cole, Yuri Perez, Trevor Gott, Justin Verlander, Jonathan Loaizaga, Shohei Ohtani, Walker Buehler, Taijuan Walker, Orion Kerkering, Braxton Garrett, Edward Cabrera, Wade Miley, Jacob deGrom, and Tihei Antone.
And don't forget, Robbie Ray is still working. He's still working his way back from Tommy John, and possibly Matt Brash, who's on the IL right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised because of that slider, but
sure.
there's a chance that he could be headed in that direction because he's been out with elbow inflammation for a while now too. So it's a long list. It's almost like, this is nerdy. On the 8th Harry Potter movie, the 7th Harry Potter movie, when they're walking around with the radio, listening they're listening. Like, it's almost like you go through and you listen to that list. It's like, are any of my starting pitchers on that list?
Mine are. or relievers.
I don't have anybody yet.
But
I will not be surprised if and when that happens, because also Brian Wu is out with elbow inflammation. So
yeah, you're right.
I don't know.
Well, it's not just starters, it's relievers, and it's all over the league. Justin Verlander is calling it a pandemic, and while it touches most teams in the league, Brad, I'm not sure you can call it a pandemic. Is that the right word?
Well, so when I was studying public health, what the definition that we learned was that it has to be endemic, and because endemic is something that's like constant, like the cold and the flu are endemic in our country, right? Because they're pretty much always there. But then for it to be a pandemic, it has to cross international borders. So I mean, if it did cross into Canada, then I guess technically maybe he's right, because here's the thing is that elbow injuries seem to be endemic,
for sure,
in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I would say that.
Although here's the thing, Brig, though. The thing that takes it from an endemic to an epidemic is an uptick, an unexpected amount of occurrences, which I think is what we actually have. I think we have ourselves an epidemic.
I think you're right. So then is it both an epidemic and a pandemic? Can we call it both, or does it have to be one or the other?
I think, I don't know. I'd have to dip back into textbooks that I don't have anymore, Brig.
I have an answer. I have an baseball family. It's demicking. Okay. We have a demic going on.
Some form of demic.
There's a demic happening. Okay. That's clearly what Justin Verlander meant, is that there's a demic going on.
You couldn't be more right, Brig.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. So here's what Justin Verlander said. He said, quote, "The game has changed a lot. I think it would be easiest to blame the pitch clock, but in reality, you've got to put everything together, and everything has a little bit of influence. I think the biggest thing is the style of pitching has changed so much. Everyone is throwing as hard as they possibly can and spinning the ball as hard as they possibly can, so it's a double-edged sword." That ends the quote. Major League Baseball is saying that it's the injuries are due to increased velocity and spin. And the Major League Baseball Players Association, particularly Tony Clark, because it's his job to be the spokesman, he says it's the pitch clock that sped up the game and the pitchers needs to move faster, but also they shortened it this season, and that's got everybody upset. It was almost universally lobbied against shortening it again for this season, but they did it anyway. So Verlander's comments are that it's more holistic than just increased spin, increased velocity, and an increased emphasis on those things. He is a swing and miss guy. That's how he's built his career. He likes being a swing and miss guy. So does everybody else. Just show me a pitcher and tell me he doesn't want to have swing and miss stuff. That's what they want.
I think Dan
right?
Dunning's the only guy in the league, and he's one in
100.
however many, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Some guys, I think, evolve into throwing ground balls, right? And trying to work into ground balls or pop
Mm-hmm.
flies, but nobody starts out that way. They all want to have swing and miss stuff.
Well,
So,
because this is the thing. What makes money, Brig? You go out there and you
strike out.
strike out 7 to 10 guys,
Yeah,
or you go out there and you throw 12 ground balls,
totally.
right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
easy
It's
number
hard.
is the K. The easy number is the K.
Well, and it's, the economy of pitches is getting crazy. I watched the Yankees are manufacturing runs. They've changed everything about their approach this year. They seem to be embracing small ball a little better. I know it's the first 10 days of the season. I understand that. But the culture has apparently shifted in its emphasis, and what the Yankees players are doing at the plate is what we've seen other teams do in the past that works, is that they're grinding out at bats and they're
Yeah.
forcing pitchers to throw 8, 10 even pitches per at bat. And that is going to have its effect. The
Mhm.
hitting is just better than it's ever been. It just is.
And that's because the pitching is better than it's ever been,
It's true.
right? So it's cart before the horse thing, or I guess a chicken and egg thing, more of a cart before the horse.
Right. Well, so Verlander, not only does he think it's more holistic, a pitch clock, analytics emphasis, swing and miss, all that, but he thinks it's going all the way down to the little league. And he says it's going to take years to start working itself back out. Whatever solution is determined, it's going to take a long time now to work it back out. And he specifically cited 2016 as sort of a watershed moment for when this all started, when they started toying with the baseball itself and its construction. And I think
Hmm.
that's a really interesting timeline I mean, if you're going to draw a line in the sand, that makes as much sense as anything.
It
Everything
is
else
really
sort of
interesting.
bled into each other.
But here's the other thing, though, Brig, is that there was a thread. I sent this to you. There's a thread on X this weekend that was going
Yeah.
around and made a lot of really good points about. It was a deep dive into mechanics, and I think that
Yeah.
has a lot to do with it.
Oh yeah.
Mechanics and pitch style, because I remember as a kid, they're like, "Don't throw a slider. Don't
Yeah.
ever don't learn how to throw a slider. It's really hard on your elbow." Especially as a kid, don't do it. As you get older, use caution with it. Every camp I went to, and Brig, I went to a lot of camps as a kid, and it
Yeah.
was always don't throw a slider.
Oh
And
yeah.
it just blows my mind that these guys, especially the ones who throw these nasty wipeout frisbee sliders, right? That
Yeah,
everybody's
for
like,
sure.
oh, his elbow. It's like, yeah, no kidding, his elbow. Do you see what he does to it? Like the motion that they do on their elbow, like it
No.
should come as no surprise to anybody that these dudes' elbows blow up, and it's because they're pitching. And then, like I said, this thread on X pointed to mechanics, because for a long time everybody had similar mechanics where they were going up, and most guys were fine, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what it did, what mechanically, long story short, what this mechanical thing did is guys have changed the way they bring their arms up for their delivery, and the way they're doing it now, they're calling it the inverted W, even though it's really an M, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It puts a lot of pressure on your elbow rather than going straight up. You look at Nolan Ryan, the way he pitched, he
Right
brought
up
it
and
straight
over.
up. And
Yeah.
the reason guys are doing this is because it's easier to throw faster. Because have you noticed, Brig? Have you ever? I don't know if you've ever done this. I caught myself doing it the other day when I was at a ballpark. I was playing a game with my son. We were throwing balls, and I did that. I brought my arm up to about right here, and
Yeah.
I whipped it. I whipped it instead of
Yep.
throwing it, and I was like, I haven't put that much zip on a ball in a while.
Yeah.
It didn't feel right, but it
Mm-mm.
felt good because it went fast, right?
Right.
That
Yep.
usually when I throw with him, I bring my arm up to demonstrate to him proper mechanics,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what has happened is like guys like Nolan Ryan. Yes, Nolan Ryan mythologically threw 107,
Yeah.
theoretically, I guess, right? We don't
I
know
like
for sure,
Marvel.
but there's a chance based on the documentary Fastball that he might have thrown 107 miles an hour. It's because he used proper mechanics and he kept his arm up and he
Yep.
worked up to it. These
For
guys
sure.
now, that's the reason they do this. And I feel like I'm going off on a tangent on this, Brig. But like that's the reason they've changed their mechanics is because they can throw harder, faster. Just like what I
Yeah.
said when I whipped it like that, doing that over and over and over and over again, that's going to wreck your elbow.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll put a link to that thread in the doobly doo, so anybody who's interested can go find it because it is fascinating to go read this whole thing. And Justin Verlander was fine for a long time until he switched.
Yeah.
Is one of the things that it points out.
So, Major League Baseball has been citing independent studies. They've worked with Johns Hopkins University specifically, and they've done medical studies, and they say that there is no evidence found to support, quote, that the introduction of the pitch clock has increased injuries. Then they added that Major League Baseball Players Association is ignoring the empirical evidence.
Okay. Can I just throw something out here real quick,
Get
Brig?
after it. Yeah, I knew you
So
would.
I have a buddy who did a lot of research when we were in college because he wanted to go to med school, so he did a lot of research projects and everything like that. They got one result, and he said, "We've got to run the test again." And the other guy was like, "Why? We did the test." He's like, "This is what we were looking for. This is the answer." He's like, "No, no, 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 no. This is not the answer a professor is paying us to find. We need to run the test again."
Oh, no.
So they ran the test 3 or 4 more times until they got the answer they were looking for to support his hypothesis.
Yep.
And he told me, he's like, that's the way things are done. The person who's paying for the research gets the result they want. They will continue to pay until they get the result they want. Major League Baseball is going to continue to pay Johns Hopkins University to run tests and analyze evidence and data and numbers, whatever, until they come back and say there's no correlation or causation that the pitch clock is what's causing these injuries.
Exactly.
The Players Association could pay,
Anybody.
I don't know, Duke University's medical school to go through and look at the data and say, is the pitch clock causing these injuries? They could say, well, it sure looks like it.
Yeah.
It can go either way based on who's paying for this research. And so
100%.
Until this research has been peer reviewed as far as like their methodology and everything that goes into it, like until that stuff comes back and shows us like, yeah, this is foolproof. This is what we found. It's not the pitch clock.
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to what MLB has to say about it.
That's right.
They've given us a lot of reasons over the last few weeks to not trust them.
Yeah. Oh man. It's getting crazy. Okay, last thing on this. Major League Baseball did, however, again, take this with a grain of salt, as Brad has stated, but they have a research study, I guess, going on. It began in October, and they are chasing down data to improve and support pitcher health and longevity. Once this research period is complete, they are then going to create a task force specifically designed to implement health training, safety measures, etc., to benefit. So they're going to take the data and apply it for the long-term health and performance of pitchers in the league. Don't know what that's going to look like. Don't know when it'll ever come to fruition. Who has any idea what a Major League Baseball task force will actually accomplish? I don't know. But
so I wonder, you think about this. You went through that list of pitchers, right?
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of stars on that list.
Oh,
Framber
yeah.
Valdez, Spencer Strider, Shane Bieber, Garrett Cole, Yuri
Justin
Perez is an
Verlander.
upcoming star. Justin Verlander, Shohei Ohtani, he's been out with the elbow injury twice. Walker Buehler. Okay, so you've got all these guys. What happens in the NFL when you have a bunch of guys, marketable guys, get injured because of one consistent thing?
They
They
changed
change the
rules.
rules. Boom.
Radically.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they've
Now you can't
outlawed the
quarterback.
spitball. They've outlawed the spitball.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a chance, Brig, do you think Major League Baseball would go so far to be like, you can't throw a slider anymore. We need to get rid of the slider because that's a problem. You can still throw 103 if you can get there, but let's eliminate some of the problem. Let's not have guys throw sliders. So not saying you throw a slider, it's a ball, right? But if you throw a slider in a game, you get fined, you get suspended, something, I don't know, right? Because an umpire can't be like, that's a slider, that's a ball, right?
No, they're not gonna
You
do
know.
that. Yeah,
But
no.
I wonder if there's a way that you can police something like that. And to say that a guy gets suspended 5 games for throwing a slider is just ridiculous. But
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if there's a way that they can limit a pitch or
Mm,
outlaw something like that to
mm,
just to protect their pitchers, because this is the thing. I'm sure that a lot of guys look at it like, if I have Tommy John my first year of service time in the league, I get big league service time. I get to rehab in the big league clubhouse. So I get to be around everybody. I get
yeah,
to take advantage of the big league resources. I've got
yeah,
a year service time, and now I'm 1 year closer to free agency without having to risk putting up crap numbers, right?
yeah.
So I feel like guys are
Mm.
willing to risk Tommy John based on the
Oh, yeah,
benefits. I
yeah.
don't know though. But there's got to be some way that the league can try to protect these guys from themselves to benefit itself. I don't know. It's
Here
crazy. It's a mess.
here's my thing. What we've seen is that players are always gonna find a way to get an edge and whatever, right? They're gonna
Right.
find the pitchers are always gonna find a new way to spin the ball or a new way to release the ball at a different launch angle or whatever. There's always gonna be different adaptations. So if you implement a rule like this, they're just the first thing they're going to do is they're going to change the name. They'll be like, that wasn't a slider, that was a sweeper. And guess what? The sweeper is just a variation of a slider. That's
It
all it
is,
is.
right. Well, and this is the thing, is that you can look at this the spin rate on it, the trajectory of it,
Yeah.
and that's why you'd have to make your decision after the game, right? But you
Yeah.
get in the World Series, a guy hasn't thrown a slider all year, and he's like, been saving this for a rainy day or
Yeah.
for a big moment,
Now's
you
the
know?
time.
Now's the time. Yeah, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So
Yeah.
here
Dave
comes the
Roberts
old
is like,
slider.
okay, now.
Yeah, exactly. You start seeing guys haven't been seeing sliders all year. Suddenly, you get in the World Series and everybody's throwing them. Like,
Exactly. That's exact. I just think so. Like, whatever they're going to do it. Right. I think that it's a good idea to uh make a change. What the change is, I don't know.
I have
I
no
think it,
clue. That is way above my pay grade.
but it's
Thank
interesting
goodness.
to think about some sort of limitation or like you said, policing it up. I'd like to see that in some way. But even things guys got fined for years and years ago, they're not getting fined for anymore.
Yeah.
So like aesthetic stuff, right?
Right.
Remember
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
Ben Zobrist wasn't allowed to wear black cleats
Yeah. I look at Bryce
with
Harper's tweets every day.
the flop? Yeah.
Yeah.